I refuse to be judged by some slave. Madison Whitmore's voice cuts through the marble courtroom like a knife. The 24-year-old blonde heiress hurls her $1,200 Louboutin heel directly at Judge Daniel Washington's face. He ducks. The shoe crashes into the American flag behind his bench. "You are not worthy," she screams, climbing onto her defense table. Her $3,000 Chanel suit tears as she rips apart her own legal documents, white paper exploding everywhere. Security officers sprint toward her, but Madison is already leaping onto the judge's sacred bench. She grabs his wooden gavel, waving it like a weapon. "I am the authority here, not some affirmative action nobody." Madison's pearl necklace snaps as guards tackle her, $10,000 worth of jewelry scattering across the floor like marbles. "My family owns this city. You are nothing. Have you ever witnessed someone's privilege become their prison?" The alarm pierces the pre-dawn darkness at 5:30 a.m. Judge Daniel Washington silences it with a weathered hand, his wedding ring catching the lamplight. Steam rises from his coffee mug as he spreads case files across his kitchen table, each page stamped with tomorrow's weight. His modest three-bedroom home tells the story of earned success. Military medals line the hallway walls: Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Distinguished Service Cross. A Harvard law diploma hangs beside a faded photo of him in desert camouflage, arm around fallen soldiers, whose names he still whispers in prayer. "Morning, honey." Sarah Washington, 48, kisses his temple as she ties her nurse scrubs. 23 years of marriage show in their comfortable rhythm. "Big case today?" "They're all big, sweetheart. Justice doesn't rank cases by headlines." 17-year-old Jasmine bounds downstairs, her Honor Society pin catching the light. "Dad, Mom says this trial is on the news?" Daniel folds his reading glasses, meeting his daughter's curious eyes. "Remember what I taught you about fairness, Jazz? Everyone deserves equal treatment under law, regardless of wealth or color. Today, we test whether our system still believes that." Across the city, Madison Whitmore's pink Maserati purrs to life in the circular driveway of the Whitmore estate. The 50-acre property sprawls like a small kingdom, its manicured gardens maintained by a staff of 20. Oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors line the marble foyer, their eyes following visitors with inherited judgment. The engine's roar awakens peacocks strutting across pristine lawns. Madison tosses her keys to Miguel, the groundskeeper's son, without acknowledgement. Her Hermes heels click against Italian marble as she enters the breakfast room where her father waits. Richard Whitmore, 58, commands his empire from behind mahogany walls lined with financial magazines featuring his face. Forbes, Fortune, Wall Street Journal. His phone never stops buzzing. Senators, mayors, judges seeking his favor. "Princess, ready for your little courtroom drama?" He doesn't look up from his tablet, scrolling through stock prices that dance to his whims. Madison examines her reflection in the sterling silver coffee pot. "Daddy, why can't you just buy this judge like you bought Mayor Peterson?" "It's complicated, sweetheart. Some people resist proper incentives." His voice carries the irritation of a man unaccustomed to hearing no. 3 weeks earlier, Madison's Maserati had torn through downtown at 80 miles per hour, music pounding through custom speakers. The red light at 5th and Main meant nothing to someone who owned half the intersection. Carlos Mendez, 35, walked his 7-year-old son Miguel home from soccer practice when death missed them by inches. The construction worker's calloused hands pulled his boy to safety as Madison's car screeched past, designer exhaust fumes choking the autumn air. Carlos's hard hat tumbled into the gutter, his lunch pail spilling across concrete still warm from the near miss. "Lady! You could have killed us!" Carlos hammered his fist against her hood, his voice shaking with a father's terror. Madison's window descended with electric precision. Her lips, glossed in $200 Chanel rouge, curved into a sneer that would haunt Carlos's dreams. Maybe learn to look both ways before crossing streets in neighborhoods you can't afford. Officer Jennifer Hayes, 29, arrived within minutes, her body camera recording every word that would later seal Madison's fate. The young officer had seen privilege before, but never this naked, never this cruel. Officer, I hope you're not going to let this person intimidate someone who actually contributes to society. Madison's voice dripped with the kind of certainty that comes from never facing consequences. My father owns more property in this city than his entire neighborhood is worth. Carlos tried explaining his business, his citizenship, his son's honor roll achievements. Madison's laughter cut through his dignity like broken glass. Construction? Perfect. My family creates the buildings, your people just stack the bricks. Now, in District Attorney Patricia Collins's fluorescent-lit office, Prosecutor Michael Torres spreads the evidence across a conference table scarred by countless cases of injustice seeking remedy. Reckless endangerment, hate crime enhancement, public endangerment. Patricia's weathered fingers tap each charge. Plus, we have her threatening language on body cam. The recording plays through tinny speakers. Some people belong in service roles, not equal roles. Meanwhile, in Richard Whitmore's leather-appointed study, defense attorney Jonathan Sterling briefs the family on their opponent. His $2,000 suit can't hide his nervousness. Judge Washington is challenging. Harvard Law Review, distinguished military service, impeccable judicial record. He's incorruptible. Richard's laugh lacks warmth. Everyone has a price, Jonathan. We just haven't found him yet. Sterling's briefcase clicks shut with finality. Not this one. We've tried everything. Political pressure, financial incentives, social connections. He's immune. Madison files her nails with diamond dust precision, each stroke a small act of violence. Then we'll just have to show him who really runs this city. The courthouse steps shimmer with morning dew as Madison Whitmore emerges from her pink Maserati like a warrior preparing for battle. Her $5,000 white Valentino suit catches every camera flash, each sequin designed to blind her enemies. 20 reporters surge forward, their microphones thrust toward her glossed lips. This whole situation is honestly pathetic. Madison's voice carries the authority of someone who has never been denied. I'm being persecuted for a simple traffic misunderstanding by people who clearly don't understand what real success looks like. She gestures dismissively toward a group of Latino protesters holding signs reading, "Justice for Carlos." Their work-worn hands grip cardboard that cost them lunch money to make. Look at this circus. These people should be thanking families like mine for creating the jobs that employ them. Her entourage follows like courtiers. Sterling with his nervous briefcase, 2 PR specialists typing frantically on phones, and a makeup artist touching up her war paint between questions. Inside the courthouse's marble hallway, Madison's heels echo like gunshots. The sound draws stares from families waiting for their own justice. Their polyester suits and borrowed ties a stark contrast to her designer armor. Carlos Mendez stands near the water fountain, his 7-year-old son Miguel clinging to his paint-stained work pants. Carlos wears his only suit, a brown polyester blend his wife ironed 3 times this morning. The jacket pulls tight across shoulders built by 20 years of honest labor. Madison spots them, and her predator instincts activate. She approaches like a shark sensing blood, her phone already recording. Oh, wonderful. The social services parade is here. Her voice carries across the hallway, drawing uncomfortable glances from court officers. I hope they understand this is a courtroom, not a charity drive. Carlos shields Miguel behind him, his weathered hands trembling slightly. 20 years in construction taught him when to stand firm and when to protect what matters most. Carlos, right? Madison's smile could cut glass. I'm sure you have more professional name for work situations. She live streams to her Instagram followers, the phone screen reflecting her perfectly contoured face. Guys, look at this. This is what I'm up against. Professional victims who see lawsuits in every accident. Miguel tugs his father's sleeve, his young eyes wide with confusion. Daddy, why is the pretty lady being mean? Carlos's jaw tightens, but his voice remains steady. Some people haven't learned how to be kind yet, mijo. Madison's laughter tinkles like breaking crystal. How precious. Teaching them English early, I see. The courtroom doors swing open with institutional authority. Judge Daniel Washington enters through his private chamber entrance, his black robes flowing like justice itself. Every person in the gallery rises except one. Madison remains seated, her phone still recording as Bailiff Rodriguez approaches. Ma'am, please rise for the Honorable Judge Washington. Madison looks up with theatrical confusion, speaking directly to her phone camera. And here's our so-called judge. I suppose even activist courts have their little rituals. Judge Washington's dark eyes find hers across the courtroom. His expression reveals nothing, but the temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. His voice carries the weight of mountains when he speaks. Ms. Whitmore, please stand and put away your device. Madison rises with the slowness of someone granting a tremendous favor. Her phone disappears into her Hermes bag with deliberate insolence. Of course, Your Honor. The pause hangs in the air like a slap that hasn't landed yet. Prosecutor Michael Torres approaches the jury box like a man carrying truth in his briefcase. His opening statement cuts through the courtroom's tension with surgical precision. Ladies and gentlemen, privilege is not a license to endanger lives or dehumanize fellow citizens. His finger points toward the defense table where Madison sits like a queen surveying peasants. The evidence will show that the defendant believes wealth grants immunity from both law and basic human decency. Body cam footage fills the courtroom's large screen. Madison's voice echoes from speakers, each word a nail in her own coffin. Some people belong in service roles, not equal roles. The jury watches with mounting disgust as Madison on screen laughs at Carlos's fear for his son's safety. In real time, Madison examines her manicure with theatrical boredom. Can we speed this up? She stage whispers to Sterling, loud enough for the front rows to hear. I have a charity luncheon at Brookhaven Country Club. Judge Washington's gavel strikes once, the sound sharp as a gunshot. Miss Whitmore, you will maintain respectful silence in this courtroom. Madison turns toward him with the slow deliberation of a predator sizing up prey. Respectful to whom, exactly? People who earned their position, or people who were handed it by social programs? The courtroom gasps. Sterling grabs Madison's arm, but she shakes him off like an annoying insect. Defense attorney Sterling attempts damage control with the desperation of a man watching his career sink. My client, Miss Whitmore, represents the best of our community's achievements. A momentary lapse in judgment should not define a promising young woman's future. His voice lacks conviction. Even he knows he's defending the indefensible. Carlos takes the witness stand with the dignity of a man who has never stolen anything, but who has everything stolen from him. His voice shakes as he describes watching death approach his son in the form of a pink luxury car. I thought we were going to die. My boy. He's only 7. He still has nightmares about fast cars. Madison's response cuts through his testimony like a blade. He's really selling this victim story, isn't he? I bet he rehearsed this. Her words carry across the silent courtroom. Miguel, sitting in the gallery, buries his face in his mother's shoulder. Judge Washington's pen stops moving. The silence stretches like a wire about to snap. Ms. Whitmore, his voice carries the chill of winter mountains. Are you commenting on sworn testimony? Madison stands, her chair scraping against marble like fingernails on a chalkboard. I'm commenting on obvious performance art designed to extract money from successful families. The courtroom erupts. Carlos's supporters surge forward until bailiffs restore order. Judge Washington's gavel thunders repeatedly, but Madison continues her assault. Your Honor, with all due respect, I question whether someone from your background can truly comprehend the responsibilities that come with real wealth and influence. Sterling turns white as paper. The court reporter's fingers freeze over her keyboard. Even the hardened bailiffs exchange shocked glances. Madison's voice rises to a crescendo of privileged fury. My family has contributed more to civilization than people who probably never owned anything until diversity programs handed them opportunities. She points directly at Judge Washington, her diamond ring catching the fluorescent lights like a weapon. I deserve a judge who understands my heritage, my family's contribution to society, not someone who clearly has a racial agenda against successful white families. The words hang in the air like poison gas. Judge Washington's expression remains carved from stone, but his next words carry the weight of mountains preparing to fall. Ms. Whitmore, you appear convinced that this court lacks the wisdom to render appropriate judgment. Madison nods eagerly, mistaking his calm for weakness. Exactly. Some people simply understand the system better than others. Judge Washington's slight smile suggests knowledge Madison doesn't possess. Perhaps you should understand exactly who is presiding over your case. The courtroom holds its breath as justice prepares to remove its blindfold. Madison Whitmore approaches the witness stand like a runway model, her confidence radiating through the hushed courtroom. Against Sterling's frantic whispered protests, she has insisted on testifying, convinced her charm and breeding will sway the jury of common people. Her $5,000 Valentino suit catches every camera flash as she settles into the witness chair. The leather creaks under her weight, a sound that seems to whisper warnings she's too arrogant to hear. I want everyone to understand that I'm the real victim of class warfare here. Her voice carries the practiced authority of someone who has never been denied anything. The microphone amplifies her words to every corner of the marble chamber, each syllable dripping with entitlement. Judge Washington's dark eyes track her movement like a predator, watching prey that doesn't know it's being hunted. His fountain pen rests motionless against his notepad, waiting to record her self-destruction. Prosecutor Torres rises from his table, legal papers rustling like autumn leaves. His cross-examination begins with surgical precision, each question designed to let Madison hang herself with her own silver rope. Ms. Whitmore, you told Officer Hayes that Mr. Mendez belongs in service roles. Mr. Mendez owns his own construction business employing 12 people. What did you mean? Madison's laugh tinkles through the courtroom speakers like breaking crystal. I meant that some people naturally fit certain environments better. It's about maintaining community standards and property values. Her fingers trace patterns on the witness stand's wooden rail. Each gesture performed for the cameras she knows are recording her every move. Diamond rings catch the fluorescent lights, sending rainbow fragments dancing across the jury's faces. Community standards that exclude successful business owners based on ethnicity? Torres presses, his voice sharpening like a blade finding bone. Madison's composure begins to crack around the edges, hairline fractures in her perfect facade. Look, social mixing has created confusion about natural hierarchies. Some people need guidance about appropriate behavior in upscale areas. Her voice rises slightly, the first hint of the volcano about to erupt. Beads of perspiration appear beneath her professionally applied makeup, threatening to reveal the ugly truth underneath. Gasps ripple through the gallery like stones thrown into still water. Carlos's wife, Maria, covers young Miguel's ears, but the boy's wide eyes reflect the hurt of hearing his family reduced to a problem needing management. Judge Washington's pen stops moving across his notepad. The silence stretches like a wire about to snap, tension building with each passing second. Miss Whitmore, Torres continues, his voice gaining strength from her obvious discomfort, do you believe some citizens deserve more rights than others? Madison stands abruptly, her chair scraping against marble like fingernails on glass. The sound echoes through the chamber, harsh and grating against refined sensibilities. I believe that families who built wealth, who invested in civilization, who created the opportunities that others benefit from, yes, we understand society better. Her voice climbs toward hysteria, years of unchecked privilege finally finding its voice. Spittle flies from her glossed lips as she gestures wildly, her composure unraveling like a cheap sweater. Sterling grabs her arm, his whispered warnings lost in the crescendo of her rage. Madison, please sit down. You're destroying your case. She shakes him off with violent force, sending his expensive briefcase tumbling to the floor. Legal documents scatter like autumn leaves, her future literally falling apart at her feet. Torres mentions potential jail time, and Madison's remaining facade shatters like crystal hitting concrete. This is absolutely insane, she screams, her carefully modulated voice becoming a banshee wail. I'm being destroyed by a system designed to punish success and breeding. Veins bulge in her neck as she whirls toward Judge Washington, her designer dress billowing like battle flags. All pretense of courtroom decorum evaporates in the heat of her rage. And honestly, I question whether this court even has the intellectual capacity to understand complex social dynamics. The courtroom falls dead silent. Even the air conditioning seems to pause, waiting for the explosion. Court reporters freeze over their keyboards, uncertain whether they should record such blatant contempt. Judge Washington's voice cuts through the silence like ice cracking under pressure. Ms. Whitmore, are you questioning this court's competence? Madison's eyes blaze with the fury of someone finally cornered, a rabid animal with nowhere left to run. I'm questioning whether someone from your background can truly comprehend the responsibilities that come with real wealth and influence. Her finger jabs toward him like a weapon, diamond rings catching the light with each accusatory gesture. 24 years of unchecked racism finally find their voice. My family has contributed more to civilization than people who probably never owned anything until diversity programs handed them opportunities. The words pour out like poison, finally finding release, each syllable more toxic than the last. Her face contorts with hatred that has festered in country club conversations and private dinner parties. Madison points directly at Judge Washington, her entire body trembling with rage. I deserve a judge who understands my heritage, my family's contribution to society, not someone who clearly has a racial agenda against successful white families. The gallery erupts like a dam bursting. Carlos's supporters surge forward until bailiffs form human barriers, their voices raised in outrage at the naked display of hatred. Judge Washington's gavel thunders repeatedly, but Madison's voice rises above the chaos like a siren of destruction. Your Honor, with zero respect, I don't think you have the cultural background to comprehend the pressures and responsibilities of my social class. She spins toward Carlos and his family, her face twisted with years of suppressed hatred. Young Miguel cowers behind his father's legs, his small hands clutching faded work pants. These people see lottery tickets in every accident, lawsuits in every interaction. That's not the society my family built. Security officers move toward the witness stand, their heavy boots echoing against marble floors. But Madison isn't finished destroying herself. I refuse to be judged by someone whose people used to serve my people. She grabs her $10,000 pearl necklace and rips it from her throat with savage force. The strand explodes, sending pearls flying across the marble floor like bullets. They bounce and roll under benches where they'll be swept up by janitors she's never noticed. This represents real wealth, not government handouts. Madison hurls the broken necklace toward Judge Washington's bench. Pearls scatter like her rapidly disintegrating world, each one worth more than most families earn in a month. Her phone appears in her manicured hands as if summoned by desperation. She activates Instagram Live, the screen immediately flooding with viewers drawn by courthouse chaos hashtags trending worldwide. Everyone look! She screams at the camera, her makeup smeared from tears of rage. I'm being persecuted by reverse racism. This is what happens when we let them have authority. 50,000 viewers watch in real time as Madison zooms her camera on Judge Washington's impassive face. Comments flood the screen faster than eyes can read, most expressing shock and disgust. This is the face of anti-white justice. Share this. The world needs to see. Security guards rush the witness stand, but Madison scrambles onto Judge Washington's sacred bench like a deranged mountain climber. Her designer heels scrape against the mahogany surface where justice is supposed to sit blindfolded. I am the authority here, not some affirmative action hire. She grabs the ceremonial gavel, waving it above her head like a weapon of war. The wooden hammer catches the fluorescent lights, casting shadows that dance across her contorted features. My family owns this town. We built this civilization. You are nothing. The live stream continues broadcasting her meltdown to a global audience. Her voice cracks from screaming, but she continues her assault on decency itself. As security officers tackle her, Madison continues screaming into her phone. This is why they should never have been given power. They don't understand real society. Her Valentino suit tears as officers restrain her. The sound of ripping fabric mingles with her hysterical threats, designer seams splitting under the pressure of her thrashing. I know where you live. My daddy has friends everywhere. You'll never work again. Handcuffs click around her wrists with metallic finality. Even restrained, Madison's voice carries across the stunned courtroom. And you! She turns toward Carlos, venom dripping from every syllable. I'll buy your whole neighborhood and evict every one of you. Madison spits toward Judge Washington's bench, the saliva falling short and splattering on marble floors that have witnessed a century of justice. This isn't over! Money always wins. As bailiffs drag her toward the courtroom doors, Madison screams her final insult. You're still just a servant playing dress-up. The heavy oak doors slam shut behind her, but her words echo in the suddenly silent chamber. Judge Washington hasn't moved throughout the entire spectacle, his dark eyes cataloging every word, measuring every threat. The courtroom sits in stunned silence, the air thick with witnessed hatred. Madison's phone, abandoned on the witness stand, continues live streaming to an audience that has just witnessed the complete destruction of a human soul. Judge Washington finally speaks, his voice carrying the calm that comes before devastating storms. Ms. Whitmore will be returned to face the consequences of her choices. The courtroom doors swing open with the weight of impending judgment. Madison Whitmore returns in handcuffs, her Valentino suit wrinkled and torn, mascara streaking down her cheeks like black tears. Yet defiance still burns in her eyes as she's forced into her chair. Judge Washington sits in absolute silence for a full minute. The only sounds are the whisper of air conditioning and the distant hum of traffic outside. Every person in the gallery holds their breath, sensing the calm before an earthquake. Miss Madison Whitmore. His voice cuts through the silence like a blade through silk. Daughter of Richard Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Industries? Madison lifts her chin with the last remnants of her arrogance. That's right. And Daddy's about to end your little career. Judge Washington's slight smile carries the promise of devastation. He presses a button on his desk, and a massive screen descends from the ceiling with mechanical precision. Interesting. Because I finished signing some paperwork yesterday that your father might find relevant. The screen illuminates with a federal document stamped in red ink. Federal Asset Seizure Order. Whitmore Industries. $2.3 billion, effective, immediately. Madison's face drains of color like water flowing from a broken dam. What? What is that? Oh, you didn't know? Judge Washington's voice carries the casual tone of someone discussing the weather. I'm also a federal judge specializing in financial crimes. Your daddy has been money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud for 20 years. The words hit Madison like physical blows. Her handcuffed hands tremble as the reality crashes down. Every offshore account, every fake charity, every bribe to city officials, I have it all documented. Judge Washington's phone rings with perfect timing. He answers on speaker, his finger hovering over the button like a conductor preparing his orchestra. Ah, perfect timing. Richard? Richard Whitmore's voice crackles through the speakers, panic stripping away decades of polished authority. Judge Washington! Please. Madison doesn't know anything about the business. She's just a kid. Daddy! Madison's scream echoes off marble walls. What's happening? Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. The FBI is here. They're taking everything. The accounts, the properties, the cars. Judge Washington ends the call with surgical precision. Too late, Richard. You raised a monster. A second screen displays historical documents yellowed with age. Judge Washington's voice takes on the tone of a history professor delivering a fatal lesson. You mentioned my ancestors serving yours? How fascinating. Images show military records. Samuel Washington, Continental Army veteran, Medal of Valor. My ancestor Samuel didn't just serve the elite, Madison. He saved wealthy families during the Revolutionary War while they hid in their mansions. Your precious upper class owes their survival to my bloodline. Madison staggers backward in her chair, chains rattling like bones in a crypt. A third screen reveals military decorations arranged like a constellation of honor. 3 tours in Afghanistan as a JAG Corps colonel, Bronze Star for Valor, Purple Heart, Distinguished Service Cross. Photos flash across the screen. Judge Washington in desert camouflage, commanding soldiers, meeting with generals whose respect shows in their salutes. I've commanded people who would die for me. People who look exactly like your father. The fourth screen displays academic credentials that shine like weapons. Harvard Law School, magna cum laude, law review editor, constitutional law professor for 8 years. Judge Washington pauses, letting the information sink into Madison's crumbling worldview. What was your GPA again, Madison? Oh, that's right. You dropped out of community college after 1 semester. Madison's mouth opens and closes like a fish drowning in air. You mentioned country clubs. Judge Washington's smile grows sharper. I'm the chairman of Brookhaven Country Club, the most exclusive in the state. Photos show Judge Washington cutting ribbons at club events, shaking hands with senators and celebrities who beam in his presence. Your family actually applied for membership 3 years ago. I personally voted no to nouveau riche. His phone rings again. Without looking, he answers the speaker. Daniel, this is the governor. I saw the news coverage. You have full state support. He hangs up immediately. The phone rings again. Judge Washington, this is Chief Justice Roberts. The Supreme Court stands with you completely. Madison's world spins like a carnival ride breaking apart. These are names that make her father grovel. Oh, and Senator Pemberton, my tennis partner, she's also your daddy's biggest campaign donor. Was. Past tense. Judge Washington's expression becomes absolutely lethal. The temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. But here's the most delicious irony. Madison. A final screen shows a military rescue photo from 20 years ago. A younger Judge Washington in combat gear pulls an unconscious man from a burning helicopter while enemy fire lights up the night sky. I saved your daddy's pathetic life. The photo zooms in on the rescued man's face. Richard Whitmore, 20 years younger, his life hanging by threads that Judge Washington's courage wove together. Afghanistan, 2003, Richard Whitmore, defense contractor, helicopter crash. I pulled him from the wreckage while taking enemy fire that killed 2 of my men. Madison collapses into her chair like a puppet with severed strings. Your father owes his life to the man you just called a servant. Judge Washington approaches Madison's table with the slow deliberation of justice finally removing its blindfold. And now, let me show you what gratitude looks like. The screen displays a property deed. Whitmore Estate, foreclosed, sold to Honorable Daniel Washington, purchase price $1. Your $50 million mansion? Mine now. Bought it at auction this morning. Another document appears. Brookhaven Country Club, Whitmore family, lifetime ban. Country Club membership? Revoked. Forever. A final image shows her beloved car being loaded onto a federal impound truck. Maserati vehicle seizure. Federal asset forfeiture. Pink Maserati? Impounded. You'll be taking the bus for the next 30 months. Madison begins sobbing uncontrollably, her designer makeup streaming down her face like rivers of defeat. Please. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Judge Washington's voice carries the finality of mountains settling into place. Now you do. Welcome to the real world, Madison. Population. Everyone you thought was beneath you. The shattered remains of Madison Whitmore slump in her chair like a broken marionette. Her $5,000 Valentino suit hangs in tatters, torn seams revealing the ugly truth beneath designer fabric. Mascara streams down her cheeks in black rivers, each tear carrying away another piece of her crumbling world. Your Honor, please. Her voice cracks like thin ice under pressure. I'll do anything. I'll give everything to charity. I'll apologize publicly on every news station. Judge Washington's dark eyes show no mercy, only the cold satisfaction of justice finally finding its target. His gavel rests beside his hand like a weapon waiting to deliver the killing blow. Ms. Whitmore, you spent this entire trial showing me exactly who you are. I believed you for the first time. The courtroom holds its breath as Judge Washington rises, his black robes flowing like the wings of judgment itself. Every camera in the room focuses on his face, broadcasting this moment to millions of viewers worldwide. On the charge of reckless endangerment, his voice carries across the marble chamber with the weight of mountains. 18 months in county jail, no early release, no special accommodations. Madison gasps, hyperventilating as oxygen seems to flee from her lungs. The number hits her like a physical blow, 18 months of her privileged life about to vanish behind bars. On the hate crime enhancement, Judge Washington pauses, letting the suspense build like thunder before lightning. Additional 12 months in state prison, plus 1,000 hours of community service in the neighborhoods you deemed unworthy. The gavel strikes with finality. Each bang echoes through the courtroom like gunshots, executing the last remnants of Madison's entitled existence. Richard Whitmore's face appears on the courtroom's video screen, calling from his own federal holding cell. His Empire suit has been replaced with orange scrubs, his commanding presence reduced to desperate pleading. Your Honor, please! His voice cracks through the speakers. Take everything from me, but spare my daughter. Judge Washington's response cuts through Richard's desperation like a scalpel. Mr. Whitmore, I already have taken everything. Your daughter earned this herself. Madison can barely breathe through her sobs, each gasp a struggle against the crushing weight of consequences she never believed would find her. Furthermore, Judge Washington continues, his voice growing stronger with each additional punishment, Ms. Whitmore will undergo mandatory psychological evaluation, cultural sensitivity training, and anger management counseling. Her handcuffs rattle as she tries to wipe tears with bound hands, the metallic sound echoing her new reality. Your driver's license is permanently revoked. You will never operate a motor vehicle again. The words hit Madison like sledgehammers. No more Maserati, no more freedom to speed through neighborhoods she considered beneath her notice. All social media accounts will be monitored for the next 5 years. Any discriminatory content results in additional jail time. Judge Washington addresses the packed courtroom and live cameras, his voice carrying the authority of justice itself. Let this sentence serve as notice. Privilege is not immunity. Wealth is not a shield. And hatred will not be tolerated in my courtroom or anywhere in civilized society. The gallery erupts in thunderous applause. Cameras flash like lightning as Madison tries to hide her face behind her shackled hands. In one final desperate attempt, Madison slides from her chair onto her knees, the marble floor cold against her skin through torn stockings. Your Honor, I'm truly sorry. I was raised wrong. I know better now. Please. Judge Washington looks down at her with the expression of a teacher delivering a final lesson. Miss Whitmore, genuine remorse requires understanding. You're sorry you got caught, not sorry you believe these things. His gaze pierces through her performance to the poison still festering beneath. But perhaps 30 months in prison will provide the education your family failed to give you. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm like vultures as Madison is led away in an orange jumpsuit that clashes hideously with her once perfect complexion. Photographers capture every angle of her humiliation for tomorrow's headlines. Madison, do you have anything to say to the Mendez family? A reporter shouts. Madison keeps her head down, utterly broken. No response comes from lips that once spewed hatred with such confidence. Carlos addresses the media with the dignity that Madison never possessed, young Miguel standing proudly beside his father. Judge Washington showed that justice is possible in America. No one is above the law. Miguel looks directly into the cameras, his young voice carrying wisdom beyond his years. The judge is a hero. He protected my family when nobody else would. News reports reveal the complete destruction of the Whitmore empire. FBI agents carry boxes from Whitmore Industries while accountants calculate decades of stolen wealth. The Whitmore family fortune, estimated at $2.3 billion, has been completely seized by federal authorities. The anchor reports as footage shows the family's political connections publicly distancing themselves. Sterling offers a pathetic statement to the press, his own career destroyed by association. My former client deeply regrets her actions and accepts full responsibility. Madison's Instagram Live from the courtroom goes viral with 50 million views. # Justice Washington trends worldwide as memes flood social media showing her shocked face learning about the judge's credentials. Inside the prison transport van, Madison stares through bulletproof glass at her former world, a world that will never accept her again. The van passes her former mansion, now bearing Judge Washington's nameplate on gates that once protected her privilege. How did this happen? She whispers to herself, finally understanding that actions have consequences even for people who thought they were untouchable. 3 months into Madison's sentence, FBI Director Christopher Hayes stands before a wall of cameras at federal headquarters, his expression carved from granite. Behind him, boxes of evidence tower like monuments to systematic corruption. The Whitmore case exposed decades of institutional discrimination hiding behind corporate respectability, he announces, his voice carrying the weight of federal authority. We're launching the largest civil rights investigation in bureau history. Internal emails from Whitmore Industries flood news screens worldwide. Each message reveals another layer of racist policies, refusing apartment rentals to black families, excluding Latino contractors from building projects, systematically underpaying workers based on skin color rather than skill. No black tenants in premium buildings, reads one email dated just 6 months ago. Maintain property values through selective screening. The evidence spreads like cancer through every corner of the Whitmore empire. 20 years of carefully hidden hatred finally exposed to daylight that burns away shadows where injustice once thrived. 6 months later, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Robert Martinez bangs his gavel in the ornate hearing room, where American justice faces its greatest tests. Judge Washington sits at the witness table, his presence commanding respect from both sides of the political aisle. Judge Washington, your handling of the Whitmore case has inspired a national movement for judicial equality. What does it represent for American justice? It represents our fundamental promise, Judge Washington replies, his voice steady as bedrock. That character matters more than circumstance, that law serves truth rather than privilege, and that justice remains blind to everything except facts and morality. In the prison common room, Madison watches the hearing on a television mounted high on cinder-block walls. Her orange jumpsuit has replaced designer suits, her arrogance replaced by something approaching humility. "That's your judge, right?" asks Rosa Martinez, her cellmate whose own story involves fighting immigration enforcement while caring for 3 children. "The one who taught you some sense." Madison nods, tears streaming down her face. "He saved my soul from becoming something monstrous." The documentary Justice Served: The Whitmore Reckoning premiered to global acclaim, winning every major award while sparking conversations in living rooms, classrooms, and corporate boardrooms worldwide. Legal scholars dissect Judge Washington's approach like surgeons examining a perfect operation. His response was masterful, explains Harvard Law professor Catherine Williams during a panel discussion. He allowed Madison to convict herself through her own words, then demonstrated why everything she believed about superiority was fundamentally wrong. The Washington Standard becomes a required curriculum in judicial training programs nationwide. Law enforcement agencies adopt new protocols for handling hate crimes, while universities create scholarships named after the construction worker who stood with dignity while hatred tried to destroy him. Inside her prison cell, Madison works by dim fluorescent light, helping fellow inmates navigate legal paperwork that might restore their hope. Her privileged education finally serves a purpose beyond maintaining her own comfort. "Madison, you're different now," observes Maria Santos, serving time for defending her children from an abusive ex-husband. "You actually care about people." "Judge Washington showed me that privilege without character is just expensive ignorance," Madison replies, her voice carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom. "I'm trying to earn forgiveness I don't deserve." Her community service assignment places her in Carlos's neighborhood, where children whose families she once dismissed now call her Miss Madison with genuine affection. She tutors kids in mathematics, helps elderly residents fill out Medicare forms, and slowly discovers what service actually means. Elderly Carmen Rodriguez, whose grandson Madison now helps with homework, pats her shoulder with weathered hands that know honest labor. "Mija, you help my family now. You have a good heart finally." "I'm learning what a good heart looks like," Madison responds, her voice thick with emotion. "These families are teaching me about real strength." The federal investigation reveals the full scope of Whitmore Industries' crimes. Congressional hearings expose $500 million in discriminatory practices, while 200 criminal charges spread like wildfire through Richard Whitmore's network of enablers. "The Whitmore family represents everything wrong with inherited power," declares Senator Catherine Pemberton, the same woman who once played tennis with Judge Washington. "We're cutting all ties permanently and supporting comprehensive civil rights legislation." President Biden's nomination of Judge Washington for the Supreme Court passes through Senate confirmation with unprecedented bipartisan support. The vote, 98-2, the strongest endorsement in decades. "Daniel Washington embodies judicial excellence," Chief Justice Roberts declares during the swearing-in ceremony. "His brilliant legal mind, unshakable moral compass, and courage to stand for justice under fire make him exactly what our highest court needs." Madison watches the ceremony from her prison cell, sobbing with something approaching pride. The man she tried to destroy now sits on the nation's highest court, his authority unquestionable and his wisdom finally recognized at its proper level. "I'm so sorry I didn't see your greatness immediately," she whispers to the television screen, her words carrying genuine remorse for the first time in her privileged life. Carlos Mendez cuts the ribbon on his expanded construction company, Mendez & Sons, and building dreams, now employing 200 workers from every background imaginable. Federal settlement money funded the expansion, but Carlos's character built the company culture. Miguel, Justice Washington showed us that merit matters more than money, he tells his son, now 10 years old, and consistently making honor roll. We're going to build a company that proves it every single day. Young Miguel looks up at his father with eyes bright with possibility. Daddy, I want to be a Supreme Court justice like Mr. Washington. Mijo, with hard work and character, anything is possible in America. The ripple effects spread beyond individual lives. Universities nationwide create Washington chairs, endowed positions dedicated to teaching justice, equality, and the intersection of law with moral courage. Civil rights organizations report 40% decreases in hate crimes in communities where Madison's story received wide coverage. 18 months into her sentence, Madison writes a letter to Justice Washington with hands that have learned to clean floors, serve meals, and comfort other women whose mistakes led them to the same concrete walls. Justice Washington, she writes in careful script, I understand now why you sentenced me as you did. You saw the poison in my soul and knew only severe medicine could cure it. You didn't just punish me, you saved me from becoming something beyond redemption. Her work in the prison law library has made her fluent in civil rights legislation she once mocked. She helps other inmates file appeals, understand their rights, and maintain hope that justice might still find them even behind bars. Every person here deserves dignity and a second chance, she tells Jennifer Wu, a recent arrival terrified of the system. The judge taught me that everyone has value regardless of their circumstances. Justice served. The Whitmore Reckoning wins the Academy Award for Best Documentary, with Justice Washington donating his appearance fees to community centers in neighborhoods where hate once thrived unchallenged. This story isn't about punishment, he says during his acceptance speech, broadcast to global audiences. It's about the possibility of redemption when justice is served with both strength and wisdom. International law schools request guest lectures on the Washington method, letting character reveal itself through actions, then applying justice with surgical precision that cuts away disease while preserving hope for healing. As Madison approaches her release date, prison counselors note her transformation in official reports that will follow her forever. Ms. Whitmore has become one of our most effective rehabilitation success stories, writes Dr. Patricia Valdez, the facility's chief psychologist. Her genuine remorse and commitment to service suggest authentic character change rather than mere performance. Madison stares at a newspaper photo of the Supreme Court, Justice Washington's face radiating the authority she once tried to destroy. I tried to destroy a great man, she whispers to her reflection in the metal mirror that has shown her ugliness and slowly the possibility of beauty. Instead, he made me want to become a good person. 2 years after her sentencing, Madison Whitmore emerges from the correctional facility into brilliant morning sunlight that feels like redemption itself. Gone are the designer clothes and entitled swagger. In their place stands a woman in simple jeans and a plain white shirt, her face marked by genuine humility earned through honest suffering. No pink Maserati waits at the prison gates. Instead, Madison approaches a modest Honda Civic she purchased with money saved from her prison job wages. $8.50 an hour teaching literacy to fellow inmates who society had written off as lost causes. Ready for your new life, Madison? Asks Patricia Valdez, her social worker whose patience helped guide this transformation. Ready to earn every bit of it, Madison replies, her voice carrying the weight of someone who finally understands the difference between privilege and worth. She drives slowly through the city, observing speed limits with the respect of someone who learned consequences the hard way. Her route takes her past the former Whitmore Mansion, now transformed into the Washington Center for Civil Rights Education. A bronze plaque beside the entrance reads, where justice taught humility. Madison parks across the street, watching children from all backgrounds stream through doors that once excluded them. Her former bedroom now serves as a library, where kids whose families she once dismissed discover worlds beyond their circumstances. At the community center in Carlos's neighborhood, Madison completes her final hours of court-ordered service. The same children who would have been invisible to her privileged eyes now rush toward her with homework questions and stories about their dreams. "Miss Madison, will you help me with my college essay?" asks Sophia Rodriguez, whose mother cleans offices downtown for minimum wage but whose daughter aims for medical school. "Of course, sweetheart. What do you want to study?" "Law, like Justice Washington. I want to help people who can't help themselves." Carlos Mendez approaches with Miguel, now 10 years old and class valedictorian. The construction worker's calloused hands carry a wrapped package that represents forgiveness Madison never thought possible. "Madison, Miguel wanted to give you something." Miguel hands her a framed photograph of the Supreme Court with Justice Washington at the center, his caption written in careful child's handwriting, "Justice for everyone, even people who don't deserve it." Madison kneels to Miguel's eye level, her voice thick with emotion. "Your father and Justice Washington taught me that being successful means serving others, not ruling over them." Madison's new apartment occupies the 3rd floor of a building where she once wouldn't have set foot. Her studio costs $800 monthly, less than she used to spend on single dinners. Yet contentment fills spaces where luxury once created only emptiness. At the legal aid clinic where she now works, Madison uses her Harvard-level education to help families facing housing discrimination. Her salary barely covers basic expenses, a shocking contrast to her former $50 million inheritance. "Madison, your work with housing discrimination cases has been exceptional," says Supervisor David Brooks, reviewing case files that represent real families rather than abstract legal concepts. "Harvard Law called. They want you to speak about redemption and second chances." "I'm not ready yet. I still have too much to learn about serving rather than being served." Her neighbors, initially suspicious of the notorious racist living among them, gradually embrace the woman who brings groceries to sick elderly residents and tutors their children without payment. "Mija, you bring light to our building," says elderly Carmen Rodriguez, whose grandson Madison helps with calculus. "You have a beautiful heart now." Madison's speaking tour takes her to high schools where teenagers scroll through social media instead of engaging with the world around them. Her message cuts through their digital distractions with the power of authentic transformation. "I thought my family's money made me superior. I thought my social class made me special. I was wrong about everything that truly matters." A student raises her hand, her question echoing what millions wonder. "What was the moment you realized you had to change?" "When I met someone who earned their authority instead of inheriting it. Justice Washington showed me what real greatness looks like: sacrifice, service, and dedication to something bigger than yourself." At a legal aid fundraising dinner, Madison encounters Justice Washington for the first time since her sentencing. Her heart pounds as she approaches the man whose wisdom saved her soul. "Justice Washington, may I speak with you?" "Of course, Madison. I've been following your work with great interest. I need to thank you, not for being lenient, for being just. You saw who I was becoming and stopped me before I became irredeemable." Justice Washington's smile carries the warmth of a teacher watching a struggling student finally succeed. "You stopped yourself, Madison. I just provided the mirror. The change came from within you. I want to go to law school. I want to spend my life fighting the kind of hate I used to spread." "Then do it. Society needs lawyers who understand both sides of injustice." Carlos's construction company, Mendez & Sons Building Dreams, now employs 200 workers whose diversity reflects America's promise rather than its prejudices. Miguel interns at Madison's legal aid clinic, learning that justice requires both courage and compassion. Miss Madison, Justice Washington changed both our lives, didn't he? He saved both our futures, Miguel. You by protecting your family's dignity, me by teaching me what dignity actually means. 6 years after her sentencing, Madison graduates law school magna cum laude with Justice Washington delivering the commencement address that brings tears to eyes across the auditorium. Today's graduates represent society's finest tradition, the belief that we can always become better than we were. Madison's first case as a public defender involves representing a young man charged with hate crimes whose anger mirrors her former self. "You don't understand. I'm not like those people," he protests. Madison's response carries the authority of lived experience. "I understand exactly who you are. I was you, and I'm here to help you become better." The screen displays Justice Washington's Supreme Court portrait as the narrator addresses viewers directly. Madison's story reminds us that transformation is possible, but only when justice is served with both strength and wisdom. In your community, workplace, and daily interactions, will you choose character over circumstance? Will you judge by actions or assumptions? Statistics appear. Communities that shared this story saw 35% reduction in reported hate incidents. Subscribe for more stories of real heroes. Share this if you believe in second chances earned through accountability. Tell us about a time someone's character surprised you, for better or worse. The final image shows Justice Washington and Madison working together at a civil rights conference, proof that justice's greatest power isn't punishment. It's the ability to transform hatred into understanding, one heart at a time. If you had Justice Washington's authority, would you choose revenge or redemption? Your answer reveals your character. Follow for daily inspiration. Share to spread justice. Your voice matters. Use it wisely. This story inspired 127 people to volunteer for civil rights organizations. B number 128. Justice Washington's chambers appear one final time, sunlight streaming through windows onto the Constitution's words, "We the people." A reminder that justice belongs to everyone willing to earn it through character, service, and the courage to become better than they were.